There once was a man in a small, quiet village who everyone called lazy. While others toiled in the fields from sunrise to sunset, he would sit under the shade of a large oak tree, his eyes closed, dreaming. He'd talk for hours about grand castles he would build, vast lands he would own, and a life of plenty he would provide for his family. But these were just words, just dreams. His hands remained soft, his brow free of sweat, and his family's pantry often remained bare. The villagers would shake their heads as they passed. "Dreams don't put food on the table," they'd mutter. He heard them, but their words were like water off a duck's back. In his mind, he was already a king. One evening, the reality of his inaction hit him with the force of a physical blow. The air was cold, and the fire in their small hut was dying down. His young grandson, his face pale and his eyes wide with hunger, tugged on his sleeve. He looked up at his grandfather and asked in a small, trembling voice, "Grandpa, is there any bread?" In that moment, the man's world of dreams shattered. He looked at the boy's hopeful face and then at the empty cupboards. He had no answer. Shame washed over him, hot and bitter. He realized, with a clarity that stung, that all his grand visions and elaborate plans couldn't fill a single empty stomach. Dreams, he finally understood, were just ghosts if you never gave them a body. The very next morning, before the sun had even kissed the horizon, the man was in the fields. He, who had avoided labor his entire life, now worked with a desperate energy. He dug, he planted, he hauled water until his muscles screamed and his back ached in ways he never knew possible. At the end of the week, he received his first wages. It wasn't much, but holding the coins in his calloused hands, he felt a flicker of pride. He brought home food, and for the first time in a long time, his family ate a full meal. But the relief was short-lived. A portion of his earnings went to food, another to medicine for his ailing wife. What little was left, he put into a small clay jar he hid under the floorboards. "This will keep us safe," he told himself, watching the small pile of coins grow. He believed that this jar of savings was a fortress protecting his family from the hardships of the world, but the world had other plans. Week by week, he noticed the price of flour went up, the cost of medicine rose. The coins in his jar remained the same, but they bought less and less. The security he thought he was building was eroding, like a sand castle against the tide. His fortress was made of sand. He felt a familiar despair creeping back in. He was working harder than ever, yet he was still losing. He couldn't save his way out of poverty. The jar, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a tomb for his efforts, a monument to his failure. He had traded his empty dreams for an equally empty reality. One day, with a heavy heart, he took out what little money he had left. It wasn't enough to make a difference in the jar. He looked at the few coins in his palm. He could buy a bit more food, which would be gone by tomorrow, or he could take a risk, a real one. Not a dream, but a tangible gamble. He walked to the market and, instead of buying flour, he used his last savings to buy 3 scrawny chickens. His wife looked at him with worry, but he just said, "We need something that grows." It was a leap of faith, born from desperation. The chickens began to lay eggs. At first, it was just 1 or 2 a day. The family ate them, savoring the rich protein they hadn't had in so long. Soon, there were more eggs than they could eat. They started selling the surplus at the market. A few extra coins here, a few there. It wasn't much, but it was different. This money wasn't just sitting in a jar, losing its power. It was flowing, regenerating. They used the egg money to buy more chicken feed, and soon, more chickens. The small flock grew. Their little enterprise was expanding. Life began to change, slowly but surely. There was always food. There was money for medicine. The constant fear that had been their shadow for so long began to recede. One sunny afternoon, the man sat under that same old oak tree, but he wasn't dreaming. He was watching his grandson play, now with rosy cheeks and a full belly. He called the boy over and placed a warm, freshly laid egg in his small hand. "Feel this," he said gently. "This is our castle. This is our land." The boy looked at him, confused. The man smiled, a real, heartfelt smile. "This little egg," he explained, "is worth more than a jar full of money. Money just sits there, waiting to be spent. But this can become a chicken, which can lay more eggs. It feeds us, and it helps us grow." The man once called lazy had finally found his treasure. It wasn't in grand, imagined futures, nor was it in a pot of saved coins. He learned that true wealth, true security, doesn't come from hoarding what you have. It comes from investing in something that can grow, from nurturing life and potential. And that was a lesson far more valuable than any dream. Thanks for watching, and if this story resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.